Okay, welcome everyone. And we welcome in Saba, and we welcome in Aaron Sway, Dr. Block, Yisrael Fisher, Mark Frankel, Irving Fishbaum, Yitzi Fruits, Menachem Yansky, good to have Marshall Castle back, Shelley Zeitlin, good to have Rabbi Kranz back, Shimon Klein, Stephen Holtzman, Michal, Eddie Chazan, Shalom Fogel, Nachman Chaplin, Moshe Lehman, Naftali Jablin, Ilya Shutman, Yitzi Muller. It's good to have Avram Rezepkowitz back. And here in the shul we have Barish Gesseman, and it's good to have Chaim Kramer back, and we have Michal Avram Chavin, and we have Ruvain Shannet, David Helfkat on Kol HaLashon, and we are holding a little bit back as we're holding by Tana Rabbanan, 2 lines above the wide line on Daf Kuf Chav Gimel Amud Beis. 2 lines above the wide line on Daf Kuf Chav Gimel Amud Beis. Tana Rabbanan. Oh, and we are sponsored by Shalom Fogli, Nishmas Yaakov Zeb Ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef Ben Sion Ben Yaakov Zeb, by Baruch Ian, Lila Nishmas Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Esther Bas Gidl, Avram Ben Shmuel Akayim, by Yaakov Yemansky, with Akar Satayv to the Rav and the Zoom family, Nachas from children and grandchildren, A.B. Spry, Nachas from children and grandchildren, Ed Salah from London, and Joshua Rosenberg. We also want to learn for Shira Basara that she should hear good news tomorrow, and we learn for Evyatar Menachem Ben Zahava should have a refuah shalema b'sech she'achel Yisrael. The Gemara tells us now Tana Rabbanan, again 2 lines above the wide lines on Daf Kuf Chav Gimel Amud Beis. Tana Rabbanan habechar noitel pishnayim, a firstborn. I'm a firstborn. A firstborn takes a double portion. Bizraya, if he's a he takes a double portion in the zraya, the right foreleg, ubelchayim, and the jaw, ubekeva, and the more, which is matnas kahuna, gifts of kahuna that were given to the father, ubemikdashin, and stuff that is sanctified, and the improvement that the father's estate improved after the death of the father. Now, all of this is very ambiguous. Ketzad. What does it mean, the improvement that the estate improved after the death of the father? If the father left a para mukeres or muskeres biyad acherim, if the father left a cow that was given to a choker to make improvements on the cow and they would split the profit, or if it was rented by others, or if the cow was grazing in the meadow, v'yolda, and had a baby, so after the father's death, in both the rental that comes in, the profit of the consignment that comes in, and the baby that was born, bechar noitel pishnayim, the firstborn takes a double portion. But that's only what we call shivcha de memela, an improvement that happened by itself. But if the orphans in the estate after the father's demise, aval banu batim, if they built houses, v'notu kramim, they planted vineyards, so that's not a shivcha de memela, that's not a improvement that came about by itself. On that, the bechar doesn't get pishnayim. Ein bechar noitel pishnayim. He doesn't get a double portion. And we welcome in Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, Yeshua Shmuel, and Gedalia Engel joining us. Gedalia, we want you to know that we hope you feel better, and we miss you very much over here. Your seat is waiting here. Actually, 2 seats are waiting for you, so you can put your foot up. And if you need directions, Gedalia, if you forgot them, I could remind you. So anyway, and Gedalia were holding, and Yeshua Shmuel were holding 3 lines into the wide lines on Daf Kufchav Gimel Amid Beis. So now the Gemara says, Hai Zroya Bal Chayayim Ba'Keva Eichidami. The matnas kuna of the right foreleg and the jaw and the maw that was given to the father who was a kayin, that the b'chor takes a double portion. Heichidami, what's the case? If it was given to the father when he was alive, so pshita, then of course the b'chor takes a double portion. And if it didn't come to the father while he was alive, then that's roihu. That's only something that was coming to the father. The firstborn doesn't take something that was coming. He only takes something that was in his possession at the time of his death. Says the Gemara, no, this is a special case. Very special case. This is talking about a kohen that was his father's best friend. He always gave the father his matnas kuna, his raya v'chayim v'keva. And udishtachit b'chayei davun. It was talking about where the best friend slaughtered the animal while the father was alive. Now, even though it wasn't removed yet, but the Kesavar, this author holds matana shalayormu, gifts that are not removed, kamisha hormadam. It's as if it was already removed. So it's as if it was already given to the father, and it's therefore considered mozik. Now we get to the next case, mukdashin. So the Gemara says, mukdashin, that the firstborn gets a double portion of the hektish of the father? That doesn't make sense. Lavdi deininu. It's not his. And even if it's talking about the portion of the carbon, after the carbon was shechted, that's not considered the father's property. That's mishulchan gavaya kazacha. That is given from the divine table, and therefore there wouldn't be a double portion in that. Says the Gemara, it's talking about the kachim kalim. It's talking about minor kachim, meaning like a shlamim. V'alibad Rabbi Yosef Glili, a country Rabbi Yosef Glili, da'ama mammon ba'alamu. That's considered the person's money. The Tanya, Umal Ba'Hashem, this is talking about if somebody swears falsely that he has to bring a carbon. Says the Gemara, L'Rabbis, why does it say Ba'Hashem? L'Rabbis Kachim Kalim, to include if he swears about Kachim Kalim, like a Shlamim, like a Taida, Shein Mamim Bailim, Divrei Rabbi Yosef Glili. Now, the next subject we talk about is that a bechor gets a double portion, and this is going to be the subject of the rest of the daf. The bechor gets a double portion of improvements that are made in the estate even after the death of the father, if the improvements happen memela, by themselves. So, haniach len aviyam para mukeres umuskeres. If the father left a cow that was given over on consignment to someone and they would split the profit, or muskeres, or rented biyad acherim, so the bechor gets double of the portion of the rental that comes in even after the father's death. It was pasturing in the meadow, v'yolda, and it gave birth after the father died. So now the Gemara says, it would seem to be that if he gets a double portion, even when the cow is not by the estate, it's rented to someone else, he surely should get a double portion. What happens when it gives birth, when it's in the estate, hashta mukeres umiskeres, where it was given out on consignment or rented, the lab b'reshusa maradidu kaima. It wasn't in the father's estate, actually. Still, Amrit Shakal, we say that the bechor takes a double portion. Raya ba'efer, if it's pasturing in the meadow, mibai, says Gemara, you're right. It's just making an analogy. It's teaching us by comparison. Hakamash Malan, Dumukeres umuskeres dumya deroya be'efer. That where it's given a consignment or rented is similar to its pasturing in the meadow. Ma roya be'efer shifcha de memela kasi. It's automatic, the improvement, and the Yisayimim are not feeding it. V'loy kachasur b'mazayna, the Yisayimim, because it's pasturing in the meadow. The Yisayimim are not feeding it, so they're not putting in effort into it. Af mukeres umuchskeres, as we start, kufchav daled amud aleph. Af mukeres umuchskeres, also where it's given out on consignment or rented, shivcha de memela ka'asi. It's talking about where it's automatic, the loicha chasrei b'mizayne, where the estate is not kicking in food in the arrangement. But if the estate is kicking in food in the arrangement, so that's something that's developed after death, and that the Bechor doesn't get a double portion. Now, Mani, who's the author of our Mishnah that says that a Bechor gets the improvement after death that happens automatically? Says Gemara Rebbe. It's not universal. It's the opinion of Rebbe. The Tanya, Ein Bechor noitel pishnayim. A Bechor does not take a double portion by any improvement that happened after the death of the father. He only gets that improvement that was at the time while the father was alive. Anything that occurs, even automatically after death, he gets only one portion. Rebbe says, my position is, Bechor noitel pishnayim, a Bechor takes a double portion, that happens automatically. But not the improvement that the Yisayimim developed. Like we said, if the Yisayimim built houses or planted vineyards, that even Rebbe agrees that the Bechor doesn't get a double portion. Yoshu shtar chayv, if the Yisayimim inherit a promissory note, a debt, Bechor noitel pishnayim, Bechor takes a double portion. Now, what happens if yotza aleim shtar chayv? What happens if there is a creditor that comes for a claim? He had a lien on the estate. Now, all the Yisayimim have to give their share, and since a Bechor gets a double portion, he has to give a double share of the payment. Bechor noisem pishnayim. But let's say his double portion amounts to $5,000, and a shtar is presented for $1 million. So v'yem amar eini noisin, I'm not going to take a double portion. Ve'eini noisin, I won't pay a double portion of the $1 million. Ve'eini noitel, I won't take a double portion of the estate. Rashi, that he's allowed to do. So now the Gemara investigates what's the difference of opinion over here. What's the source of this controversy between Rebbe and the Rabbanan? So says the Gemara, "Mai tamayu the Rabbanan." What's the reason that the Rabbanan hold that a Bechor doesn't take a double portion in any improvement after the death of the father? So the Gemara says, Amakra, the Pasuk says, the Pasuk says, Lo seisloi pishnayim, to give him a double portion. Now, giving is a gift. A gift can only be given if it was by the giver. So, matana kaya rachmana. Ma matana, a gift could only be given ad dematya liyodei, when it was in the hands of the giver. Af chelik b'chayra, so also the double portion ad dematya liyodei, until it was in the hands of the father. A fetus, a calf born after the father's death, even though it was automatically, it wasn't in the hands of the father, and therefore it cannot be given. The Rebbe says a different drasha. Amakra pishnayim. The pasuk says a double portion, comparing makish chelik b'chayra lechelik pashin. It compares the second portion to the first portion. Ma chelik pashin, just like the first portion, afagav deloy mat yiliyade, even though it didn't get to the hands of the father, he gets a portion of whatever's in the estate. Av chelik b'chayra, also this double portion, the second portion, afagav deloy mat yiliyade, even if it didn't get to his father's hand, as long as it happens memela by itself, he gets a double portion. Says the Gemara, "V'Rabbanan nami hoksiv pishnayim." What do we do with pishnayim, a double portion? Says the Gemara, that's telling us that if possible, the bechor has a right to say both portions that you give me should be near each other, and that's why it says pishnayim. You should give them near each other. Rabbanan nami hoksiv pishnayim. Hahula meis v'lei achad mitzvah. He could claim, don't give me two fields on two sides of the city, but the two that you give me should be next to each other. The Rebbe Nami Hoksiv Lo Seis Loi, it says to give it. Hahu, that's She'im Omar, that's coming to tell us that he has the right to say, look, I don't want to carry the debts of the estate double, and therefore I won't take a double portion. I don't want to take a double portion, and I won't carry a double burden of the debt. He could do that. Amar Papa. So now the Gemara crystallizes what's the machlokes between Rebbe and the Rabbana. Amar Papa. Dikla va'olim. If there was a palm tree and it got fatter after the death of the father, or ara va'asik sirtain, or the land gathered sediment and became more fertile, the Kuli Alma, everybody agrees, the Kuli Alma le pligi de shakel. Everybody agrees that he takes a double portion in that. Ki pligi b'chafura v'aveshuvle, where the grain was initially just stubs and it became wheat. Shlufafe, it was blossoms, v'havatamre, and it became dates. So there it had a name change. The Mar Savar, it's the opinion of Rebbe, Shivcha de Memela, that's an automatic improvement, and the Bechor gets a double portion. Or Mar Savar Ishtani, since it has a name change after the father's demise, he doesn't get a double portion. So now the question is, do we paskin like Rebbe, or do we paskin like the Chacham? At the root of this is a Shas discussion. We know Rebbe was very great. Rebbe wrote the Mishnah. Rebbe decided a lot of times halachas by making a stam Mishnah and an anonymous Mishnah. The question is, normally we go basa the majority. Does that apply to the great Rebbe? Do we say halacha to Rebbe even mechaveirav? Even when he argues against many colleagues. So Amar Rabba Babachana Amar Rabchia, Asa Kedivrei Rebbe Asa, if you did like Rebbe and gave the Bechor a double portion on the automatic improvement, okay. Kedivrei Chachamim Asa, if you do like the sages and you don't give him a double portion, it's also okay. Why? Because as we turn to Kuf Kaf Daled Amud Beis, Misafkele, we are in doubt. I halacha kerebi mechaveiro. If the halacha is only like Rebbe when he argues with an individual, v'loy mechaveirav, but not if he argues against many colleagues, the chacham. Oh, halacha kerebi mechaveiro v'afilu mechaveirav. Rebbe is an exception. He's so great that we paskin like him even when he argues against the community. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav. Also, lasa is kedivrei Rebbe. You can't do like Rebbe. You can't give a bechor a double portion in improvement that happens even automatically after the father's death. Kasaber Halakha Rebbe mechavei, right? We only paskin like Rebbe when he's arguing against an individual. V'loy mechavei Rav, not when he argues against many. Rav Nachman Didei Amar, Rav Nachman himself says, Mutar la'asais k'divrei Rebbe. You could do like Rebbe and afford the bechar a double portion even when it's after the father's demise. Because Savar Halakha Rebbe mechavei, right? Va'afilu mechavei Rav, even if he argues against many. Amar Rava also lasais k'divrei Rebbe. You shouldn't do like Rebbe, but v'im also. If you do, b'di eved, we let the law stand. Because Savar, he holds a compromise position. Because Savar motin itmar. We say that we incline to the majority, but we don't say definitively that the halakha is not like the great Rebbe. So if you did like Rebbe, we let it stand. Tani Rav Nachman cited Bishar Sifrei Debei Rav. Now this is a very unusual comment. It's from a medrash on the Torah other than Torah's Kahanim. Torah's Kahanim was like the most famous, the medrash on Vayikra. This is from other midrashim. B'kol asher yimatzei loi. We give the Bechara double portion, B'kol asher yimatzei loi. Prat shvach sheishbichu yorshin la'achar misas avian. That excludes that which the heirs improved after their father's death. In other words, they actively improved, building houses, planting vineyards. Aval shvach, that implies aval shvach sheshipku nechasim la'achar misas avian, that which happened automatically, like if the animal gave birth, shakel. And this would be clearly, a medrash like Rebbe. Omani Rebbehi, and that would be clearly like Rebbe. However, just adding to the mix of the confusion over here, Tani Rami Bar Chama B'shar Sifrei Debei Rav. Rami Bar Chama taught from the midrashim and in the different chumashim, not in Torah's Kahanim, B'kol asher yimatzi loi, prat l'shvach sheshipkun etzchasim la'achar misas aviyim. That comes to exclude even anything automatic improvement. He doesn't get a double portion. It had to be yimatzi loi. It had to be found by the father. V'kol shchein shvach sheshbichu yoshin la'achar misas aviyim. And for sure, if they actually did improve it, the loi shakel. And then this would be going according to Rabbanan. Omani Rabbanani. So again, here we have a confusion. One says that there's a teaching like Rebbe, and the other one says there's a teaching like the Rabbanan. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, Ein bechar noitel pishnayim b'milva. A bechar doesn't take a double portion of a debt. That means that if money was owed to the father, it wasn't paid yet when the father was alive, a bechar doesn't take a double portion in the debt. So the Gemara says, Laman, ilay mal Rabbanan, if it's going according to Rabbanan, well, that's obviously obvious. Hashta shivcha da isei b'rishusei, even an improvement that happens when it's already in the estate. Imrei Rabbanan lo yishakel, the Rabbanan say that the bechar doesn't take a double portion. Milva mabai, the debt which is not in the estate and it comes from outside the estate afterwards, of course not. Elul Rebbe, are you going to say that according to Rebbe, the din is that a bechar doesn't take a double portion in a debt? That can't be, because we learned on Amud Aleph Yorshu Shtar Chayv. If you inherit a promissory note, bechar noitel pishnayim, the bechar takes a double portion, bein b'milva, both in the debt itself. Let's say the father was owed $5,000, and bein b'ribis, if it was from a guy, he gets a double portion of the interest. So if you're going to say that even according to Rebbe, you don't get a double portion in a milva, so mani, who would the author be? Loi Rebbe, v'loi Rabbanan. It would not be Rebbe nor the Rabbanan. Says, well, you're right. According to Rebbe, you would get a double portion in a debt. And according to this, you would get a double portion, he would get a double portion in the actual debt and also in the interest, if it's from a guy. And when it says you don't get a double portion in the debt, it's going taka according to the Rabbanan. What's the chiddush? V'yitzrach. Because since the father was holding a shtar, a document, I might say, Sokadaita Chamina Milva, a debt, Kavan the Noket Shtora, since the estate has a document, command the Gavya Dami. I might think that a document is considered that it's not Mechusar Gevain, it's considered like it's already collected, and it's considered Mozik. Kamash Malan, that according to Rabbanan, he doesn't get a double portion, even though there was a promissory note. Now, we're going to still make it a little bit more complicated. Sholchu mitam. When it says sholchu mitam, when the Babylonian Talmud says sholchu mitam, it means not from Chicago. I know that's what Marshall was thinking, but it doesn't mean from Chicago, and it doesn't mean from Topeka, Kansas. It means from Eretz Yisrael. Our mind is really trained towards Eretz Yisrael. You know, with all the successes and we're still losing a tremendous amount of wonderful young men, husbands, fathers. Hashem, please make it stop. Sholchu mitam. They sent from Eretz Yisrael. Bechar noitel pishnayim b'milva. A bechar takes a double portion from a loan. That means if the father, let's see, who would that be? Marshall owed the father $5,000. Well, not Marshall, because Marshall's a yid. Tony owed the father $5,000. The bechar gets a double portion in the loan, avaloy beribus, but not in the interest. So the Gemara says, Laman, ilaim al Rabbanan, if it's going according to Rabbanan, hashta shivcha de isei berishusei, the improvement that happens in the estate where the cow gave birth to a calf, imrei Rabbanan deloy shakel, milva, the loan, the $5,000 that comes out from outside, mibai, El Rebbe, but we said Rebbe says he gets a double portion in the interest too. El Rebbe, beribus lai, v'tanya Rebbe Yaimer, b'char noitel pishnayim, bein b'milva, bein beribus, both in the loan and in the ribus. Says Gemara, no, we'll conjecture as follows. Lo'ilam Rabbanani, it's going according to Rabbanan. Umilva, but the Rabbanan will say that when he's holding a shtar, Umilva command gavya damya. The actual loan is as if it's already collected. The interest is not. Amalei Ravacha Barav l'Ravina. Ravacha Barav said to Ravina, Ikla Ameimer la'asrin. Ameimer visited our city, Vidarish, and he expounded Bechar noitel pishnayim b'milva. The Bechar takes a double portion in the loan. Obviously, he holds that since there's a shtar, it's command gavya damya, so it's considered mosik. Avalei beribus, but not in the interest. Amalei, so he said, Ameimer says this, Nardoi l'tamayu. The Nardoi, they hang together. Ameimer is from Nardah. He holds like another Nardoi, like Rav Nachman. Dama Rabba, Gavu Karka, in the case of a loan, if let's say Tony owes money to Marshall, Gavu Karka, well, not Marshall. We keep on picking on Marshall the wrong times over here.
I'm broke. Keep on picking on me.
No, but we don't want you to die.
Oh no, I'm not ready for that yet.
No. Even though you might do naughty things, we still want you around for a very long time. Dama Rabba, Gavu Karka. In the event that the money was collected after death, it was collected from real estate, then yeshloi. Then the bechor gets a double portion. Now this is simple, because since the father had a lien on the real estate, it's considered as if the father had it at the time of his life. Governmais, but if the debtor paid with money, so then Einloi, the father didn't have lien on that money, so then the bechor doesn't get a double portion. Rav Nachman Amar, here Rav Nachman says the reverse. Rav Nachman Amar governmais, if they collected money, yeshloi. Why? Because the father gave money, and money is like a replacement of what the father gave. So that's like it was the father's, and therefore that he gets a double portion. Karka einloi. But if they collect karka, then he doesn't get a double portion. Now, at this point, the Gemara wants to suggest that, according to Rav Nachman, we see that when land is collected, when land is collected, you don't get a double portion in the land, because that's considered like something new. So we see that both Rav Nachman and Ameimer, they're both from Nardoi, hold that there's a double portion when payment is made with cash. That's the point that the Gemara was making. Now the Gemara tomorrow is going to be troubled by this, and the Gemara is going to say it really doesn't seem to make sense that we should make a difference between karka and money, but that will say for tomorrow. Now, Rabbi Isai, we're going to do the Mishnah Yomis, but before we get to the Mishnah Yomis, I said it by Mincha here in the shul, and I want to say it to the Olam, my dear Zoom family. The Bava Sedra, we have a very short time for Bereshis. We have till Tuesday. That's what it says. You have till Tuesday to be on time for Bereshis. Being Bava Sedra, people say, well, if I don't give it enough time, is it worth it just saying the parasha twice and the targum once? Well, it's only worth it if you like to live long. That's what it, if you're not interested in living long, then it really is not worth your time, and you shouldn't bother listening to me. But the first school in Shas is Kol HaMashlim Parashiyos B'Matzibur Shnayim Mikra Ve'echatagen Marichen Lo Yama V'Shnoisa. That's the first school in Shas. And it really is worth it to do it. Now, when you think about doing it, you say to yourself, it's just too much. With my schedule, it's too much. So I said by Mincha, I think about what Ramosha told someone who wanted to start a yeshiva. And he was overwhelmed. He said, there's a building, and there's the teachers, and there's the furniture, and there's the books, and there's the... So Ramosha told him, if you're going to wait till you have everything in place, you'll never do it. And he said that, think about when Yocheved put Moshe Rabbeinu in a little teva and put him in the water because they wanted to kill the children. And Yocheved put him in the water, and Miriam stood by the water, but Yocheved put him in, and the teva drifted out. Basya came, and she saw this teva that was far out in the water. So she stretched out her hand, and a miracle happened, and the hand telescoped 400 amas. That's 800 feet. But Ramosha said she stretched out her hand. If she wouldn't have stretched out her hand, there would be no Moshe Rabbeinu. We got to stretch out our hand. We got to stretch. I didn't have time this morning, I made it my business, and I said 2 times Bereshis. It took me about 30 minutes. I didn't do the Targum. As it's Hashem, tomorrow I'll do the Targum. But you got to make the time. That's number one. Again, it's only for people that want to live long and have quality days, because that's what it says. Maricha lo yamav v'shnais. That means shnais of a years, and yamav means quality days. So, you have to decide if that's important to you. The second thing is that I want to say this before it gets too far out of reach. And believe me, I would do it myself with the Olam if I had the time to add something else. But the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch Yomi started its cycle this Shabbos. It's about 4 or 5 halachas every day. It's really very doable. And if you do it, you finish the entire Kitzur Shulchan Aruch in a year. And not only that, but the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch Yomi, you get yourself, see, I have one, you get yourself a little calendar, and they made it that they did it for you. That when it comes before Hanukkah, you learn the laws of Hanukkah. When it comes before Purim, you learn the laws of Purim. When it comes before Pesach, you learn the laws of Pesach. If you have, by the way, a digital art scroll, if you have one of those computer thingies, they offer you that they give you their Kitzur Shulchan Aruch to download for free. So actually, last night I downloaded it, and it's really cool. It's really a nice thing to do. Maybe one year, when I'm a little less busy. Yeah, right. But maybe one year we'll put it on our schedule. One year I'm going to do it with the Olam because I want to do it and have it on, to any time, and YouTube and Kol Lashon. I just can't do it now when I'm trying to do the Chak, and I'm so behind in the Chak. I hope they don't fire me. They wanted me to finish for this cycle. It's not going to happen. I just plod I plod my way through it whenever I have time. But anyway, it's a suggestion that I'm making for the Olam. Okay, so now we're going to do the Mishnah Yomis.
Rabbi, somebody did the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch on Kol Lashon.
Yes, I know that, but it's not me.
No, I understand. I picked up the free copy at the source to start.
It's 124, right?
Yes.